no, he's sucks, but I'm no conscious thinking maybe he's not getting enough. Maybe he doesn't.
So I kept trying to get the whole areola in because of what the midwife told me, same as you.
I feel as though he's frustrated and I'm frustrated. Like,
And then realized afterwards that when she started putting weight on, it was fine. She didn't have to get the entire brown part inside of her mouth to be able to feed properly.
According to the World Health Organization, infants should be breastfed for the first 6 months of their lives. It is described as having the largest single impact on child mortality of any other preventative intervention and provides the best nutrition. In part 1, we heard about the need for a breastfeeding workplace policy and learnt why breast milk is best for babies. In this program, we'll continue our chat with Nurse Vicky Blackman and talk to mums about their experiences with breastfeeding. Nurse Blackman stressed that education and seeking buy-in are essential to assist mums in breastfeeding, at least for the first 6 months.
Persons may have the information, but it's to actually take it beyond having the information to implementation. I think once we get the word out there and we encourage moms, because I think that that's one of our challenges. One, with a mom believing that she can't continue to breastfeed after she goes back out to work. As recent as yesterday, we heard on the news with the New Zealand Prime Minister who took her 2-month-old baby to the UN. That's a phenomenal thing. And I think it's an image that women can hold on to. Here's a female at the top of her game and she is still having her baby and breastfeeding. And I think that that would encourage our moms as well to know that you can do it and you can do it beyond going back out to work. So expressing, here at the Polyclinic, we will teach our moms how to express the milk, how to store the milk, because even when you express at work, storage is very important. Handling that milk is also important. Also for nurseries, because if they are going to be handling the breast milk, it's a very normal thing and very natural indeed. I know the challenges surrounding handling bodily fluids, but nursery attendants handle bodily fluids for little ones every single day, several times a day. So breast milk should be no exception, but to hygiene preferences as rates, the keeping sanitary, making sure that it's clean is the key thing once we will be doing breast milk at the nurseries.
Many may not know that breastfeeding reduces the risk of obesity because it contains what baby needs in exactly the right amount.
Breastfed babies can be big babies. You look and you can see it's a rosy baby, and as we would see, the baby looks healthy. But after baby starts to creep and walk, then that baby fat, as it were, usually falls off. With the breast milk supplements with formula, because moms are not mixing it as they should and it doesn't look rich enough, so we add in additional scoops, or we add in barley water, or we add in any other form of cereal just to help with this holding concept that we have, babies then can be obese, right, and can be overweight. And we want to say to moms and to dads as well, because we've also found that once fathers are supportive of the breastfeeding process, moms breastfeed longer. Once that network is there, they're encouraged and they feel empowered to breastfeed longer. So as it relates to obesity, we know the research says to us that in the longer you breastfeed, it has that protective factor against obesity. We know the research is there as it relates to ear infections, allergies, asthma, because mom pass on their antibodies from their breast milk to babies. And again, that is such a powerful thing for moms to know. For every soldier that you have inside of you, your defense system, you're giving that to your little one. who know how to develop his or her immunity. And you get to do that for your little one. I think once we get more of that one-on-one, once we're talking about it, speaking about it, because breastfeeding was thought to be something you do at home. We don't want to do it publicly. Breast seems to be a taboo as it relates to breastfeeding. We may be comfortable. We may be comfortable in other areas as it relates to breastfeeding, as it relates to breast, but when it comes to breastfeeding, we avert our eyes and we don't think that it should be done in a public place. But little ones, we would eat in public places. Why is it not okay for a little one to have his or her meal in a public place? So that's what we want to continue to do, and we empower our women here at this polyclinic and polyclinics across Barbados to breastfeed publicly, openly, often, and on demand.
Shari Maloney is a first-time mother who we met at one of our local clinics. Taking care of Elise was a big adjustment for her.
You know, it's getting used to the fact that, you know, that their routine is not our routine. So mostly at nights you're getting up to feed them and trying to figure, work your way through and figure out all the little nooks and crannies of motherhood. So I've been adjusting. It's been overwhelming at times. And at times you wonder, am I going to get all of this done? Am I going to be able to accomplish this? But I'm trying to take it one step at a time. For her, I would have to say it's been going well. Because at first I would doubt myself. Because I would say, well, am I doing this right? Is she getting enough milk? Is she satisfied? So I would be the one wondering. But because my daughter was born prematurely, she has to go to be weighed every week. And those weighs helped me to know, well, yes, the breastfeeding is working because she has been gaining weight. And then also, while I was in the hospital, they gave us a booklet which had information about breastfeeding as well. And reading that booklet, then I would experience some of the things that they mentioned. Like, for example, the booklet was saying, like, when you're breastfeeding, you may experience it, feel the tingling in the other breast. So I use those things to help me as a first-time mother know, well, yes, I'm doing it correctly, or she's getting the milk from my breast. For those who just don't want to try, give it a try first before you throw it out through the window. For those who are struggling with breastfeeding, I would say to them, don't feel less of a mother, because in a bit I can understand that too, because when my daughter was born, she was not with me in the initial stages. She was in the NICU. So I did not have that initial bonding that most mothers would have as soon as they deliver their baby. I just saw her and that was it. But I didn't have that contact or that bonding. So for that time that she was in the NICU, I didn't really feel like a mother. I felt like useless, sorry to say. And then when she was able then to have breast milk and I started to express my breast milk, I then felt a little bit more useful, because going into the NICU and seeing her there, it's like there's nothing I can do. So for those who might be struggling with breastfeeding, don't feel useless or that you're less of a mother. There are other options available. You're still a mother and you're doing what's best for your child. My plan is to continue to express the breast milk and to try the breastfeeding for as long as possible.
The Breastfeeding and Child Nutrition Foundation hosts a support group every Wednesday morning from 10 until noon at Inspire Academy, Halls Gap, Christchurch. It is an opportunity for expectant and new mothers to share and receive guidance on nutrition for their little ones.
Tell me what your experience has been like so far.
This is my second son. Overall, it's a wonderful experience when you get over some of the hurdles. Like the nurses, what they tell you in the hospital, which can be scary at times because they know they want you to do it the correct way. So no giving birth and then having to breastfeed right after birth. It can be a little,
Jolting?
yes, and tense. I actually want to say tense because your body, is kind of coming down from this painful experience, and then you have to jump right in and kind of give baby that first, taste of milk, and it has to eat, and so that whole tense experience. Once you get over that, it's beautiful, wonderful.
No, I know, because we were talking before, I went through it as well. The whole thing about nipples sometimes getting a little sore.
Yes.
Tell us how you dealt with that.
Oh,
Did you know it could happen when it happened?
Yes, I knew. I had information from my midwife, and luckily for me, I had information from the BCNF because I did some work for them. So I kind of had a poster. I had to work on a poster. I'm a graphic designer, so I had to work on a poster, and it was informing ladies about, what can happen with breastfeeding, sore nipples, cracked nipples. You can get something with the spikes in it where like it's bleeding and there's like infection and all that kind of stuff that can happen. So I'm working on this poster and then having to go through this, a couple months later. So it was kind of like I had that foreknowledge. But I did experience it myself in the beginning stages where I did have the sore nipples, and I then had the aid of a friend, who kind of came in and she helped me. She had the information, so she gave me the lanolin, so there are things that can help us with these things to kind of ease us into that process, because breastfeeding isn't supposed to be painful. But once you get over those hurdles, there are things that can help you, and it's just great after that.
Now, there are lots of challenges to breastfeeding, not just the body and what's going on and getting it right, in terms of the whole, sometimes the lack of policies and things to make life a little easier. Tell me your thoughts on that. What do you think can be done to make it easier for women to breastfeed?
If we're talking about in the workplace setting, I am one of the fortunate ones that do not have to worry about that. I'm self-employed, I'm an entrepreneur. But I do know of my friends who had that as an issue where they had to leave baby early because women are only given 3 months to be born with baby after birth. And then they have to go into the workplace and then they have to pump. And I don't know if other women would feel this, but when your baby's hungry when you're away from your baby. Like everything inside of you, everything just starts to pulsate. You even... you kind of feel, my baby's hungry or my baby's crying, and then okay, well, now it's time for me to go and pump, because you kind of keep needing that in sync with the baby. Yes, he needs some more milk.
You're not uncomfortable, go ahead.
No, I'm not uncomfortable. Once the viewing public knows that, okay,
It happens.
yeah. You want a little more? See?
And you're happy again.
And he's happy. So we kind of know instinctively, our bodies are kind of still connected to the baby. So you kind of know, okay, well, now is the time he's hungry. And I think that to me means you should still be at home with your baby. Like, you shouldn't have to be away from your baby in these critical stages. Barbados has this policy now, at least 6 months, they advocate for that, 6 months breastfeeding only. Give that in policy for women to actually be at home for 6 months with the baby. So at least you get that kind of bonding in after that. Yeah, they can go back to work. But I think 3 months is just too short, especially when breastfeeding.
In terms of some of the other challenges, did you or anybody else experience other people saying, "Oh, wait, don't get some formula. Wait, don't get you some formula. You can stay down longer if you give them some formula."
With my first son, I had that issue. He would not latch in the beginning stages, and I had a cesarean with him. And I remember one of the nurses came in, and I was frantic. I tell you, this tense period that you go through right after birth. So I was there, trying to get the breast into his mouth, and he wouldn't latch. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know any better. This is my first boy, And what kind of happened after I think it was the eldest nurse or the senior nurse or whatever, she took my son from that nurse, brought him right back to me, and in a very calm manner, she was like, let the mother try, and I tried and tried. Eventually, he did latch. And I felt comfortable with her doing that, giving me the option or they said, yes, you can do this. Don't be frustrated, he has to feed. But they were going to go and give him formula, and I didn't want that. I wanted him to be, baby first. All right, Leo. This is your big moment. You're on TV.
Tell me about your experience in terms of latching on and continuing to breastfeed after you came home.
It was easy because during the hospital visit, they make sure you get it done. If the baby's not latching, if you're not breastfeeding properly, that's one thing they're kind of particular about before releasing you. So once baby's feeding well and you kind of understand what you're doing, it's just pretty much up to you to do it by yourself when you're at home. Not having that support, being at home by yourself, you're alone, papa's gone, it's just you and baby. I think it's calming. I think that's where the real bonding kind of happens during the breastfeeding, because everything is quiet, you get to relax, and it's just you and baby. And I think that's what makes it beautiful for me, that home time, it's just you and me, kid, and it's good. I would encourage mothers to kind of be patient with themselves with breastfeeding. I know everybody's just telling you, if you can't get it done, just rush to the formula, but be patient. Yes, there's a lot of other information out there. You can go on the internet, you can Google anything and everything now, and the information can kind of cloud your own maternal instincts. And you need to then kind of just settle yourself, know exactly what you want to do, what is going to be best for both you and your baby. And it is just going to be, at the end of the day, you and your baby. You can read your baby's cues better than anybody else. You know how your baby cries, you know how it sleeps, you know when it sleeps, when it's ready to eat. Your body kind of tells you all that information. So once you're patient with yourself, you kind of block out all the other voices, then you can decide, okay, well, you know what, maybe I should try formula if you decide that you wanted to try the formula. But don't let that be like your go-to out of frustration. Because then once you're frustrated, your baby's frustrated, and your baby's just feeding off of your own cues. So that's all I would kind of encourage mothers to just be patient with themselves and listen to their own maternal instincts. We come with them. Yeah, it's built in.
Leslie and her son Logan are not having a difficulty with breastfeeding, but managing colic has been the challenge.
Yeah, it was actually very good. I didn't have that initial experience in the hospital where I felt shock or I felt, like it would be difficult. He latched on immediately and he nursed well. The problem set in like 3 weeks after when I had my first experience with colic. At first I didn't even know what it was because I had not experienced that with my first son. And there wasn't much support. Everyone was saying, well, it must be something that I'm eating. So I should probably give him the formula, give him an ease. He's too small to be going through this. Even my healthcare provider, she was saying, with the colic, we don't know what it is. Give him something for sensitive stomach and that kind of thing. And it was very disconcerting for me because I know breast milk is best. I know what my goal was as far as breastfeeding and so on, breastfeeding exclusively, at least for that first 6 months. And I just felt discouraged. I had to really reach out to like Andrea, who would have helped me during the birth and so on. And she gave me some tips. Then I had to get the support of those in my household. And there's a lot of guilt associated with it because you keep thinking, all right, it's my fault. It's something I've eaten. And then you see them going through that for hours, crying, screaming, they're red, they're balled up, So yes, I did a lot of research. I did things like the elimination diet. So you would remove dairy, you remove wheat, soy, etc., and see what works for them. And that hasn't made a big difference, but at least I know that I'm not taking in anything, so it eases me. And I don't know what I would have done if I gave up at 3 weeks breastfeeding. I'm so glad I stuck with it because it really protects them, from common colds and so on. At one point, I got the cold and he has not gotten it. And I'm nursing him. He's in my hands almost 24/7. it's really a labor of love, breastfeeding. You have to really believe in it and decide that you're going to stick with it. But I have no regrets. In terms of the colic, I just want to say, if your child is going through it, just tough it out. You know, everyone says it's going to stop by 3 months or so. I am looking forward to that in another 3 weeks or so. But just tough it out. Get someone to assist you. Get your husband, get your boyfriend, an older child to lift the baby, walk around. Take a break. Don't be too hard on yourself. People say let them cry. I find that very difficult. So I will stand with him and so. But get some help. Let a friend come over during those hours. And I would say that has been my biggest challenge. So that is what I would speak of. But I wouldn't trade breastfeeding for anything. Those moments curled up with them. I am very comfortable breastfeeding when I'm out. It's such a natural thing. My son needs to eat. I've made sure that I've worn something that I can access my breast easily and without overly exposing myself. And I think, we need to accept it. We can't let it that difficult that I need to try to get to the car first, so he has to be screaming, or I need to get somewhere private. I was in Massey just last week filling prescriptions, and he started to scream. And I was trying to, because everyone is there looking at you, put a rag over it, and he snatched it off and tossed it. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? So I think we have to be accepting of it. We need to have some kind of, let people get more used to it as mommies. We can't, there are a lot of things now that allow you to breastfeed without exposing. I know they have the gown, they have the cover over and that kind of thing, but in the absence of that, we need to get comfortable with it,
Leslie told us that the breastfeeding support group was very helpful to share experiences with moms.
At that point, when I had just found out about the colic and I felt really down, when everyone was saying, give him the formula, that was the first week that I came here. And to hear everyone going through the same things, that really strengthened my resolve to keep on breastfeeding. And even the colic, that was new to me, as I said. And another mother right beside me, she was like, what, you too? From 6 o'clock until 9:30? Yes, exactly. Yes! And I was like, all right, I could do it, and it takes away some of the guilt, or it took away some of the guilt I felt. It's not me, it's not my milk, it's just something that they go through. So the group really helped me in that regard, and that's why, I would keep coming back or encouraging others to come, just to get out the house, sit down with other mommies, compare notes. It really helps. And Andrea, with all that information, having her there as a resource is invaluable. Loggy. Yes.
For help with breastfeeding, speak to a healthcare worker, including the health sisters in any of the polyclinics. You can find more government information by visiting our website, gisbarbados.gov.bb. Like and follow us on these social media platforms under the handle GIS Barbados, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the BGIS.